Morning, everybody. So I'm just going to give people a chance to get here. People are always late, but I've got to say that I definitely, I mean, I hate to use the word definitely, but I think I found us a new trade. Just have to do a very small amount of testing. I was absolutely shocked. Now, just so you know, grains trade just like the ES, okay? One tick, 12 and a half bucks per tick, 4 ticks per point. And I only recommend corn on this trade. The soybean volume is very, very weird. And I'm not sure why, to be honest. It's just, I would not trade soybeans on this report. Brian, did you happen to look at quarterly, the British quarterly report this morning? I hope the grains, corn doesn't go crazy before the trade. That would be aggravating. No problem, Brian. I think I found us a new trade. Look at this trade. I was just hanging around and I just put the news on at 10:25 and I noticed this Canadian report, Bank of Canada Business Outlook Survey. Um, it's a quarterly report, so I threw a trade on. Watch this. I just can't get over it. All we have to do is look at the last quarter. I mean, I would say 80% this probably is going to be a trade. And it means that if there's other news like this, I just never noticed this before. This was the easiest profitable report I've ever looked at. And with Canada, it was slow. It was not herky jerky. It was like a day at the beach. Look at that. So, Brian, that's a lot like that British report I've been bugging you to test a couple of quarters back, the survey. You know which one I mean. I haven't had time to test it yet. It's on my track record. The report that I'm talking about is the Bank of England Quarterly Bulletin. It worked perfectly the other day. I think that we may have found like 4 or 5 new reports. These quarterly bulletin reports are definitely going to work. Well, I'm saying definitely. They look like there's a really strong chance of them working. That's all I'm saying. It's pretty exciting. Hey, Alex, I just want to ask you a question. I don't think this is the case. You didn't text me yesterday or the day before by any chance, did you? Okay. It must have been old. Um, I wonder if I can ask you a favor if you're feeling up to it. If you could email me your oil reversal setup, the one that you do at the report. I'm assuming a 1 minute chart. I'm just wondering how you enter you know, what your rules are, what targets and stops you use, because I'd like to just look at it. That's all. If you feel like it. So I want to be honest, folks. Soybeans, they're just not tradable right now. I don't know what's up. I checked different contracts. It wouldn't let me enter other contracts because it almost feels, it doesn't feel like, it looks like the contract is wrong. And I went and I checked the contract specs. And it is invalid for 9. I mean, I wasn't going to trade soybeans anyway. And they've been getting stopped when corn's been working almost 2 or 3 months in a row on WASD. Anyway, soybeans just they don't look right. I'm not even going to bother with them today. Do not trade them because there's something up and they are not correct. Okay. Corn is the trade. ZC 919 is correct. Volume's good. It's over 60,000. I would like to see the index start consolidating now. Thanks, Alex, if you can do it. Oh, you're saying, would you, sure, could you do me a favor? Right. Okay. If you feel like doing it, it would be awesome. So let me show you a couple of videos. I thought it would be fun to go back a full year. All right. More than a year. This is March 2018. And we used targets of, I think we modified them at the end. Nope. 9 and 17, it looked like. So that was an awesome trade. I remember this trade. That was a $600 trade, really moved fast. So that was March. March is the biggest moving month for this trade. Then you have September. Here's September. That was March 29th. Oh, here's January of 18. That was a weird one. I remember watching that one. It just did a weird whipsaw and didn't work. That, I believe, is the last grain report that didn't work well. This was very old, so old it has no meaning. September 2018. This is the one I wanted to show you. 717 on the targets. That's very close to what I'm going to do today. 717. Last check. Yep.
Dallas Fed trim mean PCE 2.2% annualized. That's down from 2.9% in April. So that's the Dallas Fed's trim mean PCE.
Now, like WASD, look how slow it took to respond. So don't cancel this trade, in my opinion, without giving it a chance to trade. This is a trade where sometimes the news is a little bit delayed. Okay. Al, we're on 7, just like the Hira on corn. So that was a decent trade. Not bad, September. That's September a year, 2018. Uh, so this is a little bit upsetting, everybody, because we're getting a move before the trade, which, I mean, that's just not normal. 445, 3.25 points. It might just make me trade a little smaller. That's all it's going to do. ZC 919, Al, not 7, 919. ZC 919. ZC 919. Alex, would it be easier to tell me if I set up a room, you just came in the room and told me? Because I could do that too. Or Skype. No, Brian, I don't like that move. It's not normal. It's an abnormal move. There's no, I've looked at a million of these reports. It's never done that. Never. So is the news out early? Does somebody know? We would have no way of knowing unless the Squawk Box. I have my Squawk Box on. Brian, do you have Financial Juice on? Okay, Alex, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Hey, Alex, no pressure, man. No pressure.
The US has sanctioned
You got 10 minutes.
Venezuelan President Maduro, according to the US Treasury.
And let me show you the last quarterly grain trade we actually traded. Three months ago. Again, delayed entry, just like WASD. This news does not hit the wires in a second. It just doesn't. "20 seconds. Okay, that news didn't hit. And you can tell when it hits. You see it go down. You absolutely see it. You see it move. Not a very big move. My charts on the right were spread. But you could see all the reports. None of them had weird movement like today. Not a one. Darn it. I would like to see for the next 10 minutes the index consolidate. That's what I would like to see. Nothing on Juice, Newsfeed, or Squawk. Forex Factory doesn't have it. Let me look at, I don't think investing.com ever has it. No one ever has it. No. Investing.com doesn't have it. Let me go to the Okay, I don't see anything on AgWeb, which is an agricultural website. I'm going to go to the USDA website, agency reports, USDA website. And that just has release dates. And we're looking at acreage, grain stocks, and rice. That's what's going on today. My gut feeling is this is going to be a negative report. Farmers are hurting. It's a bracket of 5, entry of 58. I was going to trade quite a few contracts, and I want to be honest, you have to protect yourself. That is not normal. So I'm just going to trade 3. And I'm going to shrink my targets in case it's a real honest pre-move. And I think the stop should be smaller. I think you don't have to enter until 12 o'clock on the button also. Or 59, certainly. So I'm going to watch and see if we get a consolidation. There's no question that we have an abnormal move prior to the report. I still think 445, it's a very abnormal move. It's as if the report's been released. It's as if the report's been released. I've gone to the websites. I don't know where else I can go to see if there's a hint. USDA, this is really the WASD website. The next WASD is July 11th. I don't see anything. I really don't see anything. I don't want anything using resources, extra resources. Make sure you only have one workspace open. And I like that it's consolidating now. No zones, bracket of 5. I think I'm going to be a little bit conservative because of the move. I was going to trade 4 to 5 contracts. I'm going to trade 3. Okay. I'm going to shrink my targets from 7 and 19 to 5 and 15. 11, 59, 58. I'd like to shrink the stop, but if there's extra volatility because of the move, I don't want to, just do something. I don't want to change it today. I don't think it's the right day to change it. If the report somehow was released early, I think I'd hear it on my Squawk Box or see it. I wish I could communicate with them. I think if you pay for the really, really, really expensive, we're not trading soybeans, Ashton, but all of that, there was a big sale of soybeans prior to the Trump meeting. That could be the move. Absolutely. Agriculture.com. Thanks so much for that, Ashton. That's awesome information. I don't think I'm just going to shrink my size a little bit. That's all. It still could be a great report. And when you see things like that, you just be a little bit extra careful. I still would trade it, especially because we have a nice consolidation going on. If anything, there should be a little pullback. But I think they'll wait until the report's out for much more. Do a time check. Now I would expect a pullback. Totally normal. The only thing I would say is okay, good. Jay's got a 30-second cancel on this trade. I wouldn't cancel it probably. I would wait for the news to come out. You'll see the news come out on the chart. That's the truth. You'll see the news come out. I have a second chart on the right and I have a minute chart on the left. And I'm trading ZC919. Okay. And if you all stick around, I'll show you a couple of interesting things after the trade. Unlike WASD, this trade doesn't reverse as quickly. WASD, sometimes you can do, although I got to say something, that if you carefully read the WASD website, they changed WASD last month. They changed how they show the data. They show less data points. I think they simplified it. Now, I was going to say, you know, WASD's been very volatile the last 2 months, but that wouldn't count for the previous month. The data wasn't changed. It was just May. That candle's 4 ticks, okay? So my charts are spread. So don't let that totally frighten you. That's not huge, okay? It looks bigger than it is. I want my chart spread so my bracket isn't too tight. Listen, this trade is on my plan to trade, but if there's something that says don't trade it, I'll still honor that. Now, this move is unnatural, so I'm cutting my size, but it's a fairly normal consolidation going on before the trade. I mean, they certainly make you think it's going to go long, but I still think because farmers are hurting so much that we might be looking at a short trade. But if I get my first target, I may hit the break even button. At least it's calm before the trade. I had to close that. I couldn't even see my orders. I'll, t- I'll take $125. I couldn't see my orders. It flew up the chart. So let's see if we can figure out where that profit came from. Let's chill for a second. It's at R3. It's at R3. Maybe it could have been a better profit, but I was so uncomfortable with the worry about this trade not functioning normally. It was a very nice move, but it's not that I did anything wrong. It's that it reversed. Holy crow. I mean, if you think about this, this is such unnatural, everything about this trade today, unnatural behavior, everything. Unnatural reversal. That's a WASD reversal. We don't know what the news is, so you can't really trade the news. You just have to take your profit. You should not have lost money on this trade under any circumstances. You should not have lost money on this trade as long as you got out. Okay, if you didn't get out, you might have. Now, we really don't know the direction. It's not long, it's not short. Right now, it's looking like it's long. I'm not hearing anything from the Squawk Box. So I'm just gonna have to take my profit and let it go. I'm happy to take, I mean, 125 is nowhere near what I thought I would make. But a very, very bizarre end to the week, but still a happy end to the week. And I would not try to trade this as on a secondary trade. It's too crazy. I've never seen any reaction like this ever. You got to think it's related to the news that Ashton sent that there was a big sale of beans right before the trade. Here's what's really interesting. Let's see what the soybean move was. The initial soybean move. Very similar, more stable today than the corn entry. I apologize. Hold on. It was ZS 919. No, I'm sorry. What was the soybean contract? ZS 719. It's not the right contract, folks. It's just not right. Or there's something going on with soybeans. I mean, you have a quantity. Hold on. Let me get my head together. No, that's right. Okay. It's still, soybeans don't look right. All the blank space, it's not normal for a 1 minute chart on a current contract. You don't get all those blank spaces. It's not normal. But soybeans had a more stable move. What it looks like is it went up, they probably went down to there, back up. Less volatility than corn, which is really interesting. It's the opposite, but sometimes that happens. So tell me how much money you made. Celeste, let's look at 11. That's the one contract I didn't look at, Celeste. Do you believe that? ZS 11 would not be the right contract in May. I would be shocked, Celeste. But this wouldn't be the first time somebody in the room is smarter than me. So Celeste, let's check out your brain right now. Celeste, you got it right on the money. Absolutely, ZS 1119. Brian, right? Ask me a couple of questions. I want to show you a couple of things, folks. First of all, I said don't trade soybeans, okay? Because the contract looked wrong. And I didn't even dream of trying 11 because it's so far forward. It's very unusual to be trading a contract that far forward. It's just not the norm. And that's okay. I mean, corn was fine. And if I talk about what I could have done maybe to make a little more money, let's talk for 1 second about what could I have done to make a little more money? Instead of closing, see, if I can't see what's going on, I'll generally close. But before I close, especially on a report that could be fast and dangerous, but before I closed, I could have shrunk and closed manually and maybe saved a few ticks. And maybe I could have made money, to be honest. Okay. So if I was going to learn anything from this report, trading wise, maybe I could have made 175 or maybe even $200. Okay. Hang on. So that is something just from a trading standpoint. You should always analyze your trade and always figure out what you can do better for the next time. I mean, that's just part of being a professional at anything, whether you're a UPS driver or a pilot. I don't care what you do. You should always analyze your behavior. Now let's watch the squeeze and let's watch the short. Okay, it's a little late to enter now, and it's very volatile and somewhat dangerous. Okay, so let me just take a quick picture so I have it. I want the squeeze. I love this, the way the squeeze has been behaving. I just love it. I love the way the squeeze has been behaving. But you could see why this is a prime report, even with all the problems. Even with all the problems, it was going to take a lot to make me not trade this. A lot. Okay. And I was trading this. I'll take the 125. I don't mind it. I think I could have made more, but I think I did the prudent thing by, I mean, look at that movement. That's the normal chart. This is a shrunken chart, okay? I mean, this is 445. Before the report, it moved 5 points. It's not normal. So you protect yourself by shrinking the amount you put at risk. That's just common sense, okay? Who traded using our settings and made money? Could anybody tell me if they traded? Alex, I know you traded and made money. So would you send me your pictures, please? And I'll post them. Did anybody else trade live? Al, did you trade? Steve? Irvin? I know you're trading. I mean, this is just a report you got to trade, even if you just trade one contract if you're worried. Okay? Trade one contract if you're worried. Make 25, 50 bucks. That's how I would always approach a prime trade. Always put a trade on with the primes because they're primes because they're good. Let me show you what I saw Canada and almost every country. Okay, Steve, no problem. Al, you traded after, that's fine. And very nice trade, Al. Very nice trade. 4 points should be $200, Al, right? Very nice after trade. Well done. Irvin, let me know if you traded. I know you love to trade. You don't like to let hardly anything go by. And let me show you all that I may have found us 4 to 5 new quarterly reports. Almost every country has a report called Bank of Whatever Quarterly Business Outlook. Okay, Bank of Whatever Quarterly Business Outlook. So this morning I was just fooling around doing email, and I noticed on investing.com, let me show you what I noticed, which I'd never really paid attention to it before. You know, if there's not a HIRA, I was a member, so a HIRA always gets my attention, right? That's the first thing that gets my attention. If there's no HIRA, you have to dig deep. You have to dig deeper, right? It's just the way it is. But it was about 10:25, and I was just looking at investing.com, thinking about the trade room we just left, and I noticed Bank of Canada Business Survey Outlook. And when I went and looked at it on Forex Factory, squeeze says short, folks. Bank of Canada Business Outlook Survey, Forex Factory gave it a red. So I set up a quick trade, bracket of 5 on Canada, and here's what the trade looked like. Medium targets like 5 and 10 or 5 and 12, something like that. Stop of 10, entry time of 58. And the British report that traded last week worked perfectly also. Just like taking candy from a baby. You just had to get out quick. We will be trading this next quarter. We will trade every single one of these reports that shows up. God bless the squeeze. That's all I can say. God bless the squeeze. It's working so well. So if you have moving averages, I think everybody should install the ADX VMA. That's what gives me this nice red line in conjunction with my blue candles, my consolidating yellow candles, and my red candles for down. The ADX VMA is available on Futures.io if you're a member. Okay. Anthony, I know you're a member, so it's available for you. Brian asks, what settings did I use on the Canada report? So I used a bracket of 4. My gut feeling, Brian, was it would not move even as fast as it did, but it didn't move that fast. Okay. I would call that a perfect speed trade. This is a perfect speed trade. You can't get any more perfect than this. It's just the right speed to fill all your targets without hardly any slippage. You just get a slow, pleasant move in your direction. Not slow, but a nice moderate move in your direction. I used bracket of 5, and then I used targets of, Brian, I believe I used 5 and 10, but for the future, I would use like 5 and 15, but I did trade 2 contracts on my first target. So it's a quarterly report. I would recommend we maximize money on these reports. Every bank has one. England has one, and that one's working. The Canada one worked this month. I think that we're going to find that they're all going to work because it's impactful information. All right. There was something else I wanted to show everybody. I know that a lot of people, I missed the final GDP trade, and it was very strange. First of all, there were a lot of warnings about, first of all, final GDP, if you tested it, has not been trading well. All right. So, it's marginal trade. I probably would not have traded it anyway. It also was trading with so much extra news, real consumer spending, PCE prices, and jobless Thursdays, jobless claims. So you had a lot of red flags on a report that doesn't trade well. And now you need all the news to agree. The odds of that are almost an impossibility. And look at the gold open that day. It was insane. It was absolutely crazy. Here's the gold open. It just was not normal. It gave you a big heads up that maybe something was going on. The gold open just really was explosive and crazy, which meant there was world news that was probably going to overshadow this minimal behaving final data GDP report that probably isn't even worth a HIRA anymore. The other two GDP reports are fine and they work great. This one has not worked well in, I can't remember when. But look at the open on gold. That tells you you're going to need an awfully big offset to overpower the open. And look at all the news. What are you going to do? It's not all going to agree. And that's exactly what happened. The news came out and it was crazy. It was like part of the GDP was positive, part of it was negative. PCE prices were positive, jobless claims were negative. Now, but jobless claims being negative, you got to remember that's good news. But there was red and bad news on GDP price index. There was matching news on the most important GDP news. So you have no idea which way is the right way for this trade to even be. So if you were smart, you probably would have canceled the trade. You had a chance. And then just by fluke, you were able to grab a couple of, 7 to 8 ticks out of it. It ironically, it wouldn't have hurt you. So I always like to show the truth. I would have expected not to be able to make a penny on it, and you could have made $70 to $90. And it was a nonsensical report because it had so much news. Nobody would have blamed anyone for passing on that report. No, Al, because I've been still setting up my stuff, I'm just not prepared to do an end of day today. And then next week, everything's back to normal. Everything's back to normal. And we should have some extra stuff next week too. Got some extra trades, maybe some after the oil report. After the gas report, we're going to keep looking at the oil open. So, and there's a lot of prime trades next week. Next week, I already did 90% of the schedule, or the schedule's 90% accurate. Real quick, Sunday night, Kaishan. Monday, ISM prime trade. Tuesday, Australian trade balance and building approvals. Wednesday, ADP prime trade. ISM non-manufacturing prime trade. No Australian retail, but Friday, jobs, US jobs, prime trade. No matter what, should be an awesome week, plus all the extra stuff that we do. So there's plenty of stuff to do, even though it's a holiday week. Volumes might be a little bit lower later in the week. I think the beginning of the week will be fine. And even with lower volume, I still would I would trade the jobs report, if I was the only one trading. And I think there was one other video I wanted to show you. I did the opening range yesterday when I was testing my hardware after I got moved down here. So I set up the range. I did have quite a few problems after being moved. Most of them are solved now. 9 o'clock. So here's what happened very quickly. So it filled me long, hit my target, and I protected my stop. It was very choppy, but oil was bullish all morning. Okay. From not all morning, but from 8 o'clock, an hour before the report. So I kind of waited around. I got $70 out of the open. I waited around. It reversed. So I was looking for maybe a short, but wasn't really feeling a short because oil was bullish before the open, pretty strongly bullish. So when it failed on the short side, I decided to try a long, and I was just testing anyway. So, but this is the way I think we want to think about trading this. If there's a secondary trade, you want to take it. If that secondary trade might be the direction that's real, that's what I'm looking for in my second trade. It turned out that the long was the right direction. It did go up quite a bit, even though it took a little heat, and it was chopping around at the time I traded it. But I was able to get out with 4 extra ticks. Had I been more patient, oil did eventually go up much more. But I just wanted you to show that not every day was a loser on the oil open, but the problem was there were 2 full stop outs. So when we calculated the whole week, we were down about $40 in trading plus expenses. So for all the trading. So in all honesty, if we're transparent, we probably were down about $100 on the oil open, but did very little secondary trading on it. I believe there are multiple trades in the oil open, and that's why we want to practice it. And there may be an alternative entry, which we've talked about, and we'll discuss that as we keep practicing it. Any questions? So I just wanted to show you this stuff. Just to let you know that just because there isn't a trade room doesn't always mean we're not thinking about it and thinking about things. That's great. Anthony, I hope you enjoyed the week. I think Sweden's in the World Cup, Anthony. They play tomorrow. I think they're playing England tomorrow, Saturday. They're playing England Saturday. So I hope you enjoyed the week, Anthony. I know it's probably been a little bit confusing at times. Great. Yeah, I'm going to watch the game tomorrow too. England looks tough. They haven't let up a goal like in 4 games. They played incredible yesterday. They just destroyed Norway. It was quite a game. Okay. Anthony, have a good weekend. Everybody have a good weekend. Does anybody have any questions for me? You can still trade the end of the day trade today. Don't forget it's the Friday rules. Okay? You enter at 402 and you use the PJ cumulative delta indicator. All right, it's got to be above 500 to go long, and it's long only. 1402 to 1412.50. Those are the times that you try to enter. Okay. Those are the times you enter. And PJs, if anybody has PJs for Ninja 7 and you feel like sending it to me, his website's been down. I have it for Ninja 8, and it is free. But he said he was depressed that his website was down. When you load PJs, turn off everything in the settings except show bar total. Unclick everything. And then when it shows up, you'll see it as bars, and there won't be lines and other stuff. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? No, everybody's good? All right, so I will see everybody Sunday night. We will be trading Kaishin. There's nothing I hate more than a Sunday night trade, especially at 9:45. I mean, that's not, nobody gets paid enough to do that. Nobody. All right, everybody. So I'll see. If you have any questions, email me. And I'll talk to everybody over the weekend. Have a great one, everybody. And take care. I'll see y'all. So long.